Hey there, it's Lara here with Witchy Wednesday for the week of February 28th to March 7th, 2018. So, the big news this week is the full moon in Virgo that I'm going to talk about, and a few other, significant aspects and that kind of thing. And before I launch into the reading, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thanks for watching, for liking, for subscribing to my channel, for commenting, all of that kind of thing. I really appreciate it. It really, really helps. And I'm really glad that these videos are resonating with people. I get messages and have conversations with people that tell me that they really appreciate it and that, they're learning something about astrology too, which I think is awesome. Frankly, I think astrology should be taught in school. No word of a lie. And I used to be a teacher, so I really, really do believe that. I also, you know, think that it's such a powerful tool for self-awareness and for healing and for really helping us feel like, we're okay and we're normal and we're not alone. And it's really validating. So if you're interested in getting a personal reading, then you can do that by just clicking on the link below and heading over to my site. And, I do astrology readings and tarot readings, and I do a combination of both of those things, which most people seem to really find the most valuable so far. But I do either or both together. So the choice is yours. And I thought there was something else I wanted to tell you. Oh, so last week on Friday, I did this really cool event where I went into this organization that um, they do a lot of amazing work in the community where I live, and it has a lot to do with mental health services. And so I went in. They did this event where they had different kind of healers and practitioners and they had people doing hair and nails and massages and all this kind of thing for the day, and I went in and I did readings, and that was such an amazing experience. I got as much or more out of it as the clients I was doing the readings for, and I had a really wild experience that really it was very profoundly healing on so many levels for me and for the person I was reading with. um and the reason I'm bringing this up to you is because we still have all of this Pisces energy happening right now, right? Last week, if you listen to the video, I talked about all these planets in Pisces, all this sort of mystical energy that's very, it can feel a little bit out there, a little bit confusing, a little bit just really, really deep and wide and expansive, and also a little disorienting, perhaps, but also very, very compassionate and spiritual and magical. And so, and quite psychic. And the reason I'm saying that is, you know, I had a lot of really amazing experiences last Friday, but this one in particular thing that happened, I was reading for a lady um, who had lost her son less than a year ago, and when I was doing the reading, her astrology, I was looking at her astrology chart and pulling some tarot cards, and the subject of her son came up, and without going into all the nitty gritty details, her son paid a visit, shall we say. And so I really sat with that for a while before I said anything to her, because I really, I've said to you before, I take what I do really seriously. And, I don't ever want to say something to somebody that I feel is going to harm them or, throw them off in some way. And anyway, this was going on for so long. I was getting this sort of vision and image and feeling and kind of communication from this guy who had passed over. And I finally had to say something to her, and I did. And I just said to her, I described what her son looked like, having never met this woman or her son before. And she just stopped and stared and started to, you know, cry. And it was very profound. And he was, paying a visit to say everything was okay, and a few other things that really I won't go into detail here because that's her business, not anybody else's. But it was so validating for me, and it was so healing for her and for me both. I've had these interesting experiences over the course of my life, and the more comfortable I get with embracing that and trusting it, the more it comes through, and the more I'm okay with the skeptics and the people who think that, this is all kind of thing. So anyway, I share that with you, for a number of reasons, and to illustrate like the kind of really magical, mystical stuff that can be happening during this really, really deep Pisces time, right? So, having said that, I'm going to show you the chart for today and sort of this week. This is what the astrology chart looks like. Okay, and so this is Pisces, and here, see, all of these planets are still there hanging out in Pisces for most of the remainder of this week still. And on March 1st, overnight and into March 2nd, we're going to have a full moon in Virgo, which is opposite Pisces, right? The sun is in Pisces, and a full moon is when the moon and the sun are opposite each other in the sky. And so we're going to be having a full moon in Virgo, which is this house here. The moon is going to move. It's in Leo right now. It's going to move into Virgo. The moon moves quite quickly. And so later on in the week, some of that energy is going to shift and move into Aries. Mercury and Venus are both going to move into Aries later in the week, but that doesn't happen until next Tuesday, March 6th. So in the meantime, Pisces, right? And this full moon in Virgo. And so I just have some notes here that I want to take a look at to make sure that I don't miss anything. So today we've got the moon, the moon's hanging out in Leo, and it's making some aspects to the planet Mars in Sagittarius and Uranus in Aries. So it's making a trine, which is a sort of an easy flowing aspect and conversation, right? Those planets are having an easygoing kind of conversation with each other. And so, we can be quite sort of active and creative and really energized and wanting to kind of, get things done. And then the planet Mars, which is the planet associated with the sign of Aries, and it's about action and initiation, and it can be about like aggression and really, really sort of almost warlike energy, but also very sort of passionate and active energy too, and so pioneering energy as well. And so it's having a conversation with Mercury specifically, and also to a lesser degree all of the rest of those planets that are piled up in Pisces right now, right? So Venus, Neptune, Chiron, what else is there? Well, the sun, obviously, and Mercury, as I just mentioned. So there's a conversation happening called a square, and that's a conversation of more sort of tension. And so we may find that, there can be some like frustration, some tension, some impatience happening really with our communication, and even sort of like there can be a bit of sort of like a competitive vibe going on. And also because Neptune's involved, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and it's in its home sign of Pisces right now. and will continue to be for quite a while because it's a slower moving planet, but maybe some confusion as well in terms of, communication. And so it's just something to be mindful of. But that will pass. Mercury and Venus move rather quickly, and they, as I said, are moving on into Aries on March 6th. And so that is going to it's going to kind of fire things up a little bit in the area of Venus and Mercury, right? In the areas that those two planets kind of govern. And so Venus governs our love relationships. It governs our money, our personal resources. And when I say personal resources, that's money, but other resources that we have to draw on as well, right? Venus governs the aesthetically pleasing stuff and the anything that sort of we experience through our five senses. And Venus also governs our core values, right? What we really value. And so we can, starting around March 6th, when Venus moves into Aries, we can start to feel a little bit more kind of drive in those areas and more need to kind of act and a little more impatience, that kind of thing. Which after, it's been in Pisces for a while now, which is a lot more dreamy, romantic kind of, and it can be escapist as well, kind of energy. We'll notice this feeling when it moves into Aries. And Mercury, the planet of the mind, of our thoughts, of our communication, of our intellect, of our exchange of ideas, those things, is also moving into Aries on that same day. And so again, we can find that our thinking and our thoughts are a lot more and our communication style even a lot more bold, a lot more pioneering, a lot more action oriented, a lot more driven, that kind of thing. So I'm going to just spend the rest of the time here talking to you about the full moon in Virgo, and then I'm going to draw the card into the conversation as well, which as always is very, very appropriate. And so this full moon in Virgo is happening on March, as I said, March 1st and 2nd. But you're probably, especially if you're somebody that's really in tune with the moon energies, you may be starting to feel this already. Usually we can feel the effects of a full moon a few days before and a few days after, right? And so as any full moon, a full moon is a time of illumination. And as I mentioned, it's where the sun and the moon are opposite each other in the sky. And so in this case, the sun is in Pisces and the moon will be in Virgo. And so it's that Pisces-Virgo axis that we are dealing with at the time of the full moon. This really is something near and dear to my heart because this energy, as I've mentioned before, kind of rules my life. I'm a Pisces sun and a Virgo rising, and Neptune, which rules Pisces, and Mercury, which rules Virgo, factor heavily in my chart. And so I live this on the day-to-day, right? And so this is about Virgo energy is about purification. It's about our daily routines. It's about discernment, right? Virgo, just like Gemini, is ruled by Mercury, the planet of our mind and thinking and communication, right? And information. But with Virgo is more about the details than Gemini. Virgo is more discerning about the information. They're very, they notice everything, right? Virgo energy really notices everything. And so it can be quite critical and quite nitpicky. And oftentimes that's done in an effort to really understand and get to the bottom of things, and to try to purify things and make them perfect although, nothing is ever really perfect, but it's that striving for perfection. Virgo is also a very healing sign. Um, and it's an earth sign, so it's grounded and practical, but in a very um, it deals a lot with health and wellness, that kind of thing. And so it's a healing sign. Pisces is also a very healing sign. This is kind of like the axis of healing right now, right? Pisces, Virgo. Um, and so we can have this, it can be a time of almost like, a cleansing, all this Piscean watery energy coupled with the purification, and discernment of Virgo. And so it can be like these healing waters are kind of, washing into our lives right now. Um, and that can feel, it can feel a bit, uncomfortable, as I mentioned before, with all this Piscean energy, especially if you're somebody that's not that used to kind of just, this flowing kind of way of being in the world. Um, so also with this Virgo Pisces axis, it is, as I've said to you before, and part of the reason for, me using this term on my website and in the work that I do, it's about the practical, Virgo, magic, Pisces, right? And bringing those two things together, about balancing those two things. It's about mastery, Virgo, and mysticism, Pisces, right? Um, and as I said, like earlier, it's about purification and cleansing too. Um, this is like, this is a great time to be doing your spring cleaning on a more mundane day-to-day level, right? And to kind of be decluttering and getting rid of things, that are cluttering up your space and that kind of thing. And also a good time to pay attention to your health routines and anything health wise that's going on for you. And again, I will say to you, this, where you feel this always depends on where this is in your personal natal chart. So where is this falling for you, right? This full moon. For me, I have Virgo in my first house and Pisces in my seventh house. So that's the axis in my chart that this is impacting. So it's kind of like, for me, that's about the house of like self and who I am, and the house of other, or my significant relationships kind of thing. And so if you have Virgo in your second house, for example, the full moon is falling there, and this could be about your resources. It could be about, getting your money situation sorted out, or it could be about, getting organized in that regard, or your personal resources, that kind of thing. So that's just one example, right? And again, it totally depends where it falls in your personal chart, how you will feel this specifically. You will feel it regardless, especially the mutable signs will feel this, meaning Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius. But everybody will feel it to some degree. So I think, one other thing I just wanted to say about that. So if you've ever seen the movie Sherlock Holmes, there's two of them right now, and apparently there's a third coming out with Robert Downey Jr., then when I saw this movie, I was blown away. It's a favorite now, and I actually got both of the first and second movie for Christmas because I love it so much. Because Robert Downey Jr., who plays Sherlock Holmes in this movie, and he's brilliant in it, in my experience and my opinion, this is the Pisces Virgo axis. Robert Downey Jr. is a Pisces Virgo. I'm positive of it in this movie, like Sherlock Holmes, the character. The way his mind works, it's just, when I watched the movie the first time, I was like, I totally get it. This guy is a complete empath, and he pays attention to all the details, and those two things come together, and it's really cool. So if you ever watch the movie, you'll know what I mean. Okay, so I'm gonna bring the card into the conversation now, and the card that came up for us this week is so appropriate, the High Priestess. This is from the Witch's Tarot deck. And so the High Priestess is actually the card associated with the moon. No coincidences, right? And the High Priestess is very much, about this, again, this Pisces Virgo axis. So she's about using her wisdom and her intuition, and really, really trusting her instincts. It's about knowledge and discernment, which is Virgo. It's about mysticism and intuition, which is Pisces, and the balancing of those things, right? And bringing those things into neutrality. Like when you can balance those things, it's very powerful. When you can use all of your wisdom, your intellect, your and be very discerning about that. And you can also cultivate your intuition and trust your intuition. Big things can happen. And so this is also about sort of trusting that you got this, right? You've got this. You may not necessarily know where things are going or exactly where you're going to end up, but trust the process, trust yourself. Just that's really, really important right now, is to really trust the process, trust yourself. Don't let your fears and anxieties, Virgo can tend to be very anxious actually. Don't let those derail you, stall you, just trust the process, right? Pisces. So I think I'm going to leave it there for today, and I hope you found this helpful. As always, I'd love your feedback. If you want to comment here on YouTube or on Facebook, or send me an email, that would be awesome. And I will see you all again next week, March 7th, which is my birthday. Okay, bye. Take care. Thanks.